So here we are playing War of the Ring, and I think I screwed up last time and put the reinforcements for the turn after I moved the thing. So I didn't add any additional reinforcements this turn. Which meant the Dark Power player isn't quite ready. The Fellowship charged through Gothmog's stack and continued on. They didn't. The search was ineffectual. Boromir charged down and has taken command of the garrison at Minas Tirith, which is a slight help for the Fellowship. Meanwhile, poor Merry's wandering around out here in the wilds, rather scared, I would say. But Lord of the Nazgul gathered together pretty much the forces from Minas Morgul and swept in, and is... it's not going to happen. I was going to say, and is going to be sieging Minas Tirith. Well, he's got to spend the 3 points for an attack. I didn't position myself for that, which means he can't enter the Hex without spending the siege attack. So that means less of a garrison here, which means 1, 2, 3, 4. Possibility of the Fellowship slipping through. We'll see how that works and if it works. All right. Well, we've got 75 strength points for the Fellowship. Nowhere near enough, I'm afraid. 25, 35, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100. It's going to be a 1-to-1 attack, and the Lord of the Nazgul is going to be leading against good old Boromir. Now, Lord of the Nazgul has B sorcery, which he can throw in, along with his 4 morale. His sorcery gives him +2, so he's up to 6. Boromir has 2, so it's a +4 to take Minas Tirith. But it's on the 1-to-1 table, if I can find the chart. Now, what did I say? +4? Wow. That puts it up to 50% and a kill. Now, the kill, I think, is... I have to look that up. Let's see. S7. Is it at random? Is it the leader? I don't think it's the leader. Or is it going to be LMNOPQRS? Is it going to be at random? I think it's at random. No, Fellowship may select any character. Okay, well, guess who just died? Good old Denethor. Because you kind of want him dead anyhow. And so if I can dig him up, he'll be dead. But I'll pull his counter out and put it on the dead pile. However, the losses were kind of high there. 50%. Which means Minas Tirith has to lose some 13 strength points. That brings them down to 7. Or a total of 12, but 7 infantry, under the command of good old Boromir. And Nazgul, well, the orcs there lose nothing. And I could use a larger orc army counter for this, but it's just a pain in the ass. Alright, well, I guess we'll move on. And we'll be looking at the next turn, the Fellowship, looking at a wide open path into Mordor as far as I can see. So for card play, the Dark Power player played the Corsairs of Umber, letting him move 50 points of the Haradrim up here to Dol Amroth, throw it under siege. Lots of trouble. Now, it's the Fellowship player turn though, and I've started moving Gondorian forces, new reinforcements, try to lift the siege of Minas Tirith, and of course, we've got the dead men of Dunharrow. Now, what's cool here, not only do these add or subtract 3 to a combat roll that Aragorn's leading within range, but all the Corsairs of Umber that were brought in this turn are destroyed by the dead fleet or undead fleet. And Aragorn's going to have to go here. The question is, what I do other than Aragorn? Do I want to send someone else forward? And Imrahil, well, I'll move him as far as this, but move the rest of the force here. The big question here is, do I want to try to slip something, the ring, into place? And with how open everything is, I think the answer is yes. So, of course, we'll send Frodo and Sam. 2 is a good number here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get them off the road. And we'll send the rest of the force up here with good old Aragorn. Now, I've got to look at the numbers and see how much I need of the Rohirrim to make this work, to make this a reasonable odds attack, and I'll come back after that. So, I could just aim for a 1-to-1 attack. A 1-to-1 attack doesn't terribly help me. And by the way, I gotta see what Boromir picked up here. He picked himself up a nice sword, Glamdring. This isn't going to help him in battle the way Anduril is going to help Aragorn. But rather than simply bring enough odds to get that 1-to-1, I'm actually bringing over that with the Rohirrim. They're not completely denuding Edoras, but they're weakening it greatly. And the reason for this is multiple rounds of combat are fought on an attack. So to drive the orcs out of here, out of the Minas Tirith area, a bad roll might be acceptable if it means that there could be, if there's enough margin to allow more 1-to-1 attacks after that. So that's what we're going to see here. And what we have is Aragorn, who's attacking with a morale of 4, 5 for Anduril, plus basically 3 more to the die, putting him up to an 8. And he's going to be facing, well, it happens to be the Lord of the Nazgul there, who's pretty good himself, at 4, plus his sorcery rating, which is only going to be 1, so he's a 5. So, all told, Aragorn's going to have a +3 to his attacks here. And he's a little over 1-to-1 to begin with. I'm going to roll out a number of attacks until maybe the orcs decide they have to fall back. Or, on the other hand, until maybe Aragorn has to fall back. Boromir's inside the citadel, but coming out to sally forth and fight. They're separated unless the orcs can be driven out. Alright, I'll roll that up and come back. Well, at the end of the combat, the first round for the evil player was not good at all. It ended up 30% losses. That's 30 casualties. Drops him down to the point where he'd be at 2-to-1 against him. So he's going to pull out of there. There was a K result, though, which means... poor Pippin. Yeah, I had to do that to you guys. Fellowship gets to choose somebody who dies. And, hey, Denethor died last time. Who can I lose now? Yeah, it could be Boromir. He's not terribly valuable, Gimli, Legolas. But Pippin seems the least useful of the pile. Although, it is painful to give up a hobbit because... you want them as ring bearers, but now that I've split the party, it's not so big a deal anymore. Alright. Well, it is for Pippin. So, Aragorn's been successful, but he's got another role where this can happen. He can do another combat roll where he's got this +3 to the die roll. And that's still a massive effect. Right now, militarily, the Fellowship or Gondor has surged back and struck the Dark Power, very much like in the book, struck the Dark Power forces away. Of course, we don't have all those Haradrim and everything here. All we've got is these orcs, which are going to be fleeing here into South Ithilien, I guess. So the orcs Sauron tries to position the orcs in a ring around Barad-dûr. He sends Gothmog there, but he's also spending points at the same time going for Helm's Deep. Now, I know people are going to tell me this is horrible. The military victory is impossible with this stack here. It's just impossible. And they may be right. But wiping out these Rohirrim makes it somewhat less impossible. And here's the thing. We don't know what's going on here. We don't know if the Fellowship player is going to say, I'm not going to chance the ring victory. I'm going to go for the military victory now that I have the advantage. So attacking here with Saruman seems like an extra assurance to protecting against that situation. Because right now, with Aragorn in charge here, Boromir in charge, Aragorn in charge, and that's allowed because Denethor is gone, and with the dead men of Dun Harrow, he's got one more big victory coming. That could be Minas Tirith for all I know. So, actually having to force the Fellowship player to make a better choice here, not to fight not to make it so clear that it's going to be an easy battle there, to make Isengard or Isengard an open possibility with forces streaming down. These are things that increase the decision involved. Anyway, we're going to see what Saruman's got here and what his fight's like. But he's been able to get quite a few troops. I think he's going to be able to wipe Yomer out of there, or at least push him out. But we'll see how painful it is. The first roll was an optimal one for Yomer. He was able, and Theoden is too old to lead his troops right now, because I haven't gotten the card that allows him to. But the orcs had 3-1 odds, yet they got a bad roll. We were at even. Saruman rolled well on his sorcery and ended up being equal to Yomer in combat. He ended up taking a 20% hit on the attacker. Now that is really the only bad result there is. The odds have shifted though, down to 2-1. It was a close 3-1. And now, well, they're a lot more even. And I think that the Rohirrim are going to stay and fight a little longer because it's not a clear loss to them anymore. And if they lose the space, well, there's no magic cards. Those have already fallen. But it's just a tough call because that army could be really useful. Still, losing Edoras, they'll stay and fight. So more bad rolls from Saruman's point of view, ending in a 1 here. But the Rohirrim are going to withdraw with what little they have left. 10, 16, 17 strength points. Why? Well, the entire family, the entire royal family has been wiped out one by one. Saruman's much, much weaker. He's only got some 45, 50, 60 strength points. He's been knocked about in half here from what he had. But the cost in characters, every single one of the Rohirrim royalty gone. Once you get rid of that, it becomes impossible. So it still would have been 2-1, I think, at 60 points. We were talking about what here? 10, 16, 17, 34. It would have been close, but if let's say it's 1-1, let's say they get it down to there. Still, Saruman has a +4. That means it's almost impossible to cause him any damage. Only on a 1 would it even happen. So the whole tenor of the battle changes. The more rounds you fight, the more likely Fellowship characters get killed. And, you know, here we lost, yeah, Yowen's unimportant. Theoden's unimportant until he activated, but Yomer's a good leader, and it's a shame to have lost him. Anyway, there was no reason to continue fighting. The casualties that were caused to the orcs were quite heavy, comparatively, but maybe not compared to the character losses. It's hard to tell, though, because if you don't take those character losses, if you run away with them, you end up with way too many characters to handle the stacks that you really do want to fight with. Right now, I've got 1 stack I want to fight with. And I got enough leaders for that stack, far and away. Anyway, looks like that's going to be the end of the turn. And we're going to see if the Fellowship sneaks in, or if they can do something back here and try for a military victory. Not sure.